Hey everyone, welcome back to a not so great Monday. Well, as you guys all know, Bitcoin fell today along with the miners. What happened there? Well, I think it's because Trump spoke. I think Microsoft also maybe spoke to market a little bit with HPCI data center news there a little bit. Maybe wasn't their news, it was somebody that an analyst actually did some research on them, and we'll talk about that. The good news is MicroStrategy bought another 20 some thousand Bitcoin today, and yet Bitcoin fell. Explain that to me. I don't know how you're going to explain that. It's just weird that they can buy 20 some odd thousand Bitcoin when you can, I don't even think you can mine that much in a month anymore. So it is definitely interesting times that we are a part of right now, but we'll get into all that and everything else. We'll look at Riot's earnings as well. I got some thoughts on that. I listened to the the conference call today, along with the Q&A. Got some thoughts that I want to share with you guys on it as well. We'll look at the numbers as well. So we'll get through all of this, and then we'll get into Q&A at the end here. So as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice for anyone only. Please, please, please do your own research as always. Full disclosure below that. And if you would be so kind and hit the like button, subscribe, that would help me out tremendously. So let's take a look at what we got going on here with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, like I said, didn't have a great day today. It was down almost 5%. It was down, I think at one point it was down 5%, but it finished out being down 4.94% on the day. I had to lower my line here on the wedge here, on the triangle wedge, because before it was going up to this line here, and obviously we crossed that today. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have to lower that. We're still at least in the upwards momentum here going this way. We haven't really gone below our previous low, which was on January 13th, which we ended up at 89,000 something at that point. So we're still above that. So this still might hold. We'll see. But it's definitely gotten extended now. It's now into, if we break out of it, hopefully sooner than later, but if we don't break out of it and we are in this channel here, we might not break out until like the middle of March right now. Month of February is not looking good for us. We're like 10% down on Bitcoin as it is right now. So it's definitely not one of those months that we thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a green month. I'm sure all of you did as well, based on just historical data on Bitcoin and February's in the past. But so we were down today. Bitcoin was down 4,755. It closed at 91,510. The 1 hour chart is not looking good right now. I mean, we're heading upwards in the upwards direction at least. We're up like 1%, I think, on Bitcoin, 0.75% right now as it is. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the RSI here, RSI was at about 30 there. Price was at 95,000. Then we actually got up here. Price was actually lower, like 95,000. They closed out at 95,300, something like that. And the RSI was actually higher. That was pretty much a good tell right there that we possibly would be going down. And sure enough, we did. We fell below that. On the forward chart, we can take a look at that as well. That's now on the negative part, or not negative, under 30 here on the RSI as well. That's why we're kind of bouncing up here a little bit right now on the new day for Bitcoin. So, and the last time we were, see back here, we were definitely at, I mean, yeah, I mean, look at this. We were back here. This was on February 2nd. Well, we were up here. We closed higher on that point, on the 4 hour chart, at least at that point. But still, the RSI was only 20 here. We are at 22 right now, and the price is actually lower at this point, right? So that's not looking good for us. And if we fall even back here to here, RSI was at 30 at that point, and we are at least right, pretty close to that right now as it is. If we look at the line, kind of stayed above that for the most part. So a little good sign there at least. We'll see how it goes. Like I've said before in previous streams, that if Bitcoin does not hold this wedge kind of thing going forward, or we go below our 89,000 mark, then we're going down to like 78,000 potentially, which would be obviously on the CME futures gap. We do have a gap there. It looks like we have a gap here on the forward chart as well. Let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. Yeah, there's a gap here on the CME futures as well a little bit. So we have a little gap here, but we have a gap back here. This was back from November. This was November 8th, right? We have a gap between basically 77,900 roughly and 80,700. So that's why I'm thinking we might be going down to fill this gap if it happens. If we go down even more. We'll see. We'll keep track of it, see where Bitcoin goes. Right now, we're in the green at least a little bit here on the new day. We'll see where we end up at today. MicroStrategy was down today, 5.65% on the day, even though they bought 20,000 more Bitcoin. Surprisingly, and again, like I said, someone please explain to me, how are they able to buy 20,000 Bitcoin when none of the publicly traded miners are buying or selling their Bitcoin? And if we're getting, what is that? We're getting 3.125 Bitcoin a day, 144 Bitcoins or 140 blocks a day roughly, right? So 3.125 times 144, I think it is. That's 450 Bitcoin per day times 30 days a month roughly. That's 13,000. They bought a month and a half supply of Bitcoin here. So either retail is selling, capitulating right now, or there's some shenanigans going on in the market. I don't know if they're getting coins that are loaned to them or something like that. I don't know. But that you would think by the amount that they've been buying here recently in the past several months, where's that supply coming from? I can't figure that out. But they're getting it. So, and it didn't help Bitcoin at all today. Bitfarms was down 6% here. BitDeer is the only one that was actually in the green. It was up 0.08%, surprisingly enough. Cypher was down almost 10%, was down 9.56%. Cleanspark was down just a little bit compared to the others, 3.78%. CORZ was down 8.7% today. That one hasn't been this low since back here in September. Wow. So things have definitely taken a dive here. Hive is down to 238. It's down for 4.42%, and it's gone back down to here in August of last year. Last time it was down this low. Hut A was down 7.42. It's actually, last time it was, this point was November. So, I mean, we're going back quite a few months here. IREN was down 6.62. It's actually been around this price here just recently in February. Mara was down 5.25%. Last time was at this price was back in September. Riot was down 4.49%. And the last time it was back here in January, so not too far away. And then finally, Wolf was down 3.19%. Last time was at this price was back in October as well. So a lot of, I mean, we've definitely come way down on a lot of these guys here over the last couple months. Not looking good. Small miners were down also. Big hits to Digihost. Digihost has been coming down tremendously. It's been taking a big hit. Almost looks like a rug pull on DGHI, Digihost shareholders on that one. I mean, it had a huge gain here recently from January through basically the beginning of the end of January even. It was up 155%. I mean, it's taken a lot of it back already as it is. From here down to here, it's down 56%. That's not good. Hopefully you took your profits when you were up there. What else do we have here? The ETFs were down quite a bit, 5%, 6% as well. What else can we take a look at here? Bitcoin dominance. Right, is this Bitcoin dominance? Yeah, this is Bitcoin dominance. That one continues to grow here. So altcoins are not doing great. Doge saying it's up. It was down today. Wow, we got a little Doge dancing. That's the first time I've ever saw that. Who else do we have here? Samler was down 7%. Canon was down 7%. Kanji or Kango was down 10%. Applied was down 15%. It's another, wow, that's a rough candle there looking. Who else do we have here? Galaxy was down 4.2. Griffin was down 6.47. So not a good day. And we'll get into the reasons why here, but you can see here that Bitcoin here for the month of February is down 10% right now as it is. Last time we were down that much was back in 2020. And then prior to that was 2014. And historically, February has been a really good month. Not this time around. So looks like we're going to have a red month here possibly. We got, 4 more days left to go. So we'll see where we end up in February. But right now, it's not looking good for us. All right. So like we talked about MicroStrategy here, they bought another 20,356 Bitcoin at 1.99 billion at 97,000. So they're in the red on that one, that acquisition at least. They're going to be down, well, a couple percentage points, 5% points, whatever it is going to be. So, but that's still not great for them, but they continue to buy, right? So what do they know that we don't know? Why are they still continuing to buy Bitcoin at these prices? You would think that they would have maybe some more insight than we do, especially since Michael Saylor has wealthy friends in high places, that maybe he would know something that others don't know, but he's just buying. So as long as he's buying, I think we're going to be okay. And if he continues to buy this much, continue on, I think that's going to be good. So there's that. And then what I think spooked the market today was that Trump says tariffs on Canada and Mexico will go forward. So again, uncertainty in the market leads to what we had today, basically. But President Donald Trump said sweeping U.S. tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico will go forward when a month-long delay on their implementation expires next week. So, I mean, is he trying to scare the markets to go down? Is he trying to buy things at lower, or his friends trying to buy things at lower prices? Maybe, I don't know. but you would think he's pro business and all that stuff, and the stuff that he's saying here does not help. So there's got to be a reason behind it, you would think, right? That's kind of cynical, but that's the way the world works, unfortunately. People in power will do things to help their friends. So maybe that's what's going on here. This is just bring the market down a little bit more, buy in lower, then, do things to, light a little fire under the markets potentially going forward. Could be, I'm not sure. And then another story that we had here today, which I think didn't help. I think this came out on the 21st, but a lot of news outlets actually covered it today. So analysts noticed Microsoft quietly canceling data center leases. So this wasn't good, but there might be reasons for this as well. It's just maybe they're looking at the data centers that they're looking to lease potentially, and then looking to go in another direction, which ones that might actually be better for, like the Blackwell chips that are going to be coming out from NVIDIA later on this year as well, right? Because not all data centers are made equally, depending on not the megawatts, what is it? The rack density. Can't remember what the rack density is, how that's measured, whether it's, I don't think it's megawatts, it's definitely not megawatts, kilowatts maybe. So maybe that's kind of what they're doing here, but here's what the story is about. So TD Cowen noticed Microsoft doing something strange on Friday. The OpenAI partner and tech giant appeared to be canceling data center leases. According to market analysts, this is part of a wider pattern. TD Cowen said Microsoft had an oversupply problem. It's another data point that points to big tech's nervousness around its big bet on AI. I don't think that's the issue. I think it might be just them looking at sites that might be better suited for them, maybe, because they even kind of pointed out here later on. TD Cowen published its quick take on February 21st and said its research into Microsoft data center business had turned up something interesting. Our channel checks indicate that Microsoft has, 1, canceled leases in the United States totaling a couple hundred megawatts with at least 2 private data centers operators. 2, has pulled back on the conversations of statements of qualification to leases, and 3, has reallocated a considerable portion of its international spend to the United States. So it looks like they might be going more into the United States, right, with Trump and tariffs and things like that. And then Trump also being pretty full on for AI, and with SoftBank, and they're trying to get investment into AI here in the United States up to potentially 500 billion, sorry. So it could be just a repositioning of things to come. Continuing on here, the leases aren't the only sign that Microsoft is cooling down its AI spend. Microsoft walked away from multiple plus 100 megawatt deals in multiple markets that were in early mid stages of negotiations. Let a 1 gigawatt of letters of intent on a larger footprint site expire, and walked away from at least 5 land parcels that it had under construction in multiple tier 1 markets, TD Cowen said. The interesting is 1 gigawatt site. Who has 1 gigawatt sites? The only ones that we really know of are like potentially IREN. What's another one? I mean, Riot, at a sense. Also, we'll talk about Riot here in a little bit, about their quarterly results and what they had to say. But they have like 1.7 gigawatts total that they're have in their portfolio right now. Who else would we have there? Maybe Core, but Core is already with CoreWeave. I'm trying to think of anybody else. Cypher maybe as well. Cypher would probably be one of those. And then BitDeer would be another one that would have a large megawatt portfolio. So interesting to know if any of those, unless it's somebody that we don't know even about, that is part of that. Part of what's going on is that Microsoft, like other technical companies, is promising to do more business in the United States following the election of Donald Trump. America and the markets are waiting with bated breath to see what effects Trump's tariffs and presidency will have on the markets, right? So there's that part of it. And then I think down here, Microsoft pushed back on this later when it talked to business press. So this is a quote from Microsoft. While we may strategically pace or adjust our infrastructure in some areas, we will continue to grow strongly in all regions. A Microsoft spokesperson said in a statement to Bloomberg, our plans to spend over $80 billion on infrastructure this financial year remain on track as we continue to grow at a record pace to meet customer demand. So I think it's more of just picking out better sites maybe than the ones that they were dealing with here. To have higher direct density for these things. Maybe it's direct chip to cooling that they needed as well, which some of these other sites couldn't offer maybe. So it's those things have to be taken into account. It's just not that they're canceling contracts, but maybe they're just moving things around, getting things maybe looking to be more efficient and things like that. So I don't think this is all bad news, but I think this also contributed to why a lot of the miners were down today that were in HPCI, more so than others. It's just one of those things where we had the DeepSeek FUD, right, a couple of weeks back. That dropped a lot of the miners that are in HPCI as well. Took a big hit, 25-30% drop on that day. But overall, I think this is just going to continue going forward. You're going to need a bunch of these HPC AI data centers to be able to run like Grok, like Gemini from Google, OpenAI, others as well. It's just the more people that use this stuff and get access to it, the more you're going to need those GPUs to be able to spit out the answers that people are looking for. So this is not going away anytime soon. There's going to be some efficiency gains here, I think, based on what happened with DeepSeek, but I don't see this being a slow thing or slowing event on the amount of data that's going to be needed here. Okay, so there's that on it, and that's the only stories I really do have for you guys here as far as what possibly caused the 5% drop in Bitcoin and the miners more so today. But next, let's get into Riot here. Platforms, right, they reported their fiscal year-end 2024 financial results. We do have the numbers for them. I was able to get the numbers from them. I don't have the amount of shares outstanding right now, as of right now. We do have what they had at the end of 2024, which is also the weighted average, I believe, number of shares. So it's not the exact number there as well. So I'm waiting on that. They're supposed to provide that sometime in, I'm guessing, the next couple of days. The 10Q, I think it's going to be, or the 10K report. In there, we should have the actual number of shares outstanding. Unless you guys saw that someplace and I missed it, let me know. Definitely in the comments. I'll see if we can find it later on. But we don't have that, so we're just going to get into their stack here right now, which was part of their, their conference call. I'm drawing a blank on that word, conference call. I listened into it as well and listened through the whole thing and listened to the Q&A part of it as well. You guys can go through this. I mean, they have the snapshot here. I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to get into their numbers here in a second. The interesting part of it was also, which we'll get into here in a second, was in the questions. There's some interesting tidbits here. There's a lot of data, but then I was able to pull the actual financial results from here, which are unaudited still, based on what they reported here. It's all the way down here at the bottom. Gosh, they got a lot of stuff here. Key focus, appendix, the team there. Okay, there we go. So we got definition terms and reconciliation, continuation, and that unaudited. So it's all unaudited. And then we come down here, we get the 2024 statement of operations, the revenue side of things. So I pulled in that data, and hopefully it doesn't change much since it's unaudited. I don't think it's going to change, but we'll see. I'll take a look at it when they do report the actual 10K figures. And then we got the current assets. That's what I use there, and we can look at that right now. Okay, so here's Riot, right? Currently, I still have them at 332 million shares. I don't know where they're going to be at the end of it all. I think they're definitely be higher. We can look at what they reported for shares outstanding at the end of the quarter and things like that, average shares out there. But currently they have about a market cap of 3.3 billion. We'll get that updated once we have the actual share numbers out. Performance over the last 12 weeks has not been great, right? We talked about that many, many times here in the past couple of weeks. Current hash rate, 33.5 exahash. They're saying that they're getting to 38 exahash, 38.4 I think it is. So I need to update my numbers here for them. So they still have about 20% growth here left with them. Bitcoin HODL is still right at 18,221, valued at 1.6 billion there. That's all good. Looking down here at the quarterly results here, we can see that Q4 numbers for Bitcoin mining came in at 123 million. I had them at 124 million. So I was off by a little bit, off by 1% on it. But the good thing is that the revenue is increasing here, even in the current quarter that we're in, which is Q1 of 2025. I'm estimating right now at least that they might be somewhere around 153 million as long as Bitcoin stays in this region. If Bitcoin falls in even more so in March, well, then it's going to take a little dip there. Last for quarter operating costs have been increasing, but their hash rate has been growing as well. So that's okay. That's attributable to that. I'm fine with that. Cost to mine one Bitcoin minus depreciation. I'm at 40,500 here. So that's come down from the 46. Like seeing that the cost is coming down. So that's good there. Bitcoin mine quarterly is actually going up here, which is also good, right? They're higher than they were in Q1 of 2024, which is nice to see there. Debt to equity has gone up a little bit here to 0.05, which is still really good. Current ratio, higher is better. It's come down to 3.7, but that's still really good. So balance sheet wise, they're still really healthy here. Going down here into the actual numbers, we'll get into some of these metrics here in a second. Assets, we talked about that a little bit here. So current assets is 599 million. That's down from the 716 million. Total assets is at 3.9. That's up about $1 billion here from the 2.9 that they had in Q3. So that's fine there. Liabilities also went up a little bit here to 160 million from 126 million. Total liabilities up 791 million from 173 million. Big increase in that is the convertible notes that they got there, right? 500 some odd million there. That's being added to that as well. So that's pushing that up. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity is at 3.9 from 2.9 billion. So that's an increase of 1 billion in a quarter. So that's actually pretty good. Revenues here. Okay, this is an interesting part of it here. So they reported the fiscal year end quarters. I took the numbers that we have for Q3, Q2, and Q1, subtracted that from fiscal year end, and got Q4 numbers, right? Based on that, this is kind of what we're looking at right now as it is. So I came up with 123 million here for Bitcoin mining. Engineering came in at 11.5 million. That's down from the 12.6 that they had here in Q3. Other revenue was actually up to 7.8 from 4.6. Total revenue went to 142 million, and then self-mining percentage of revenue was 86% for the quarter here. For the year, it was 85%, so still pretty good there. Expenses, this is where things get pretty interesting here. So cost of revenues exclusive of depreciation and amortization shown below. 61 million here for the whole thing. Mining was 61 million of that, so that's what we're looking at there. Hosting was 0 there. Engineering, 13.9 million, right? They only made 11.5 million. So they're in the hole about 2.4 million there, and I think they were in the hole last quarter as well. Yeah, so things are not looking good with the ESS Metron, I think they call it, that for the engineering part of it. That's not good. Don't like seeing a business segment basically bleeding. It's not more billion, 2.5 billion, whatever it is. Not billion, sorry, million. That's not good. What else do we have here? Other is the engineering, hosting, acquisition. I think other is going to be for the other business, I think. Maybe not. I'm not sure. They don't break it out completely. So that's what we're looking at. That selling general administrative also $81.1 million here from 66.9. That's, you would think that as they get to scale that would go down, but they have the ESS Metron. They have the other company that they also just recently bought here. So their overhead is getting bigger and bigger, unfortunately, which is not good. I don't like seeing that, but they did state that there were some things in there that were maybe one-time things for lawyers and things like that, legal fees and things with that. Depreciation also went up to 82 million here from 60 million. That's understandable. They had more stuff installed, equipment, everything else, so they're depreciating that. It's fine. They did take advantage of the fair value of Bitcoin for the FASB rules, so that lowered their basically expenses by 291 million there. That's a positive for that. What else do we have here? Parker Tillman was only 2 million here, it looks like, in Q4 compared to 12 million in Q3. So that's definitely come down here. What else did we have here that was kind of interesting as well? We had something else. Where's it at? Where am I missing it? It's not here. It's later on. That's further down below, I believe. So gross profits, total cost and expenses was 45 million negative, right? And that's only because they had the FASB. Take that out, and they're basically in the negative on costs instead of being costs being positive instead of being negative. You know what I mean? Gross profit was 188 million based on that. Interest. Okay, here we go. Unrealized loss on marketable equity securities. I think this is attributable to the Bitfarms stake that they have there, the 19% stake that they own in Bitfarms shares. I think with Bitfarms coming down, this is what they basically got hit on, 55.8 million. So that wasn't good there. That might be looking like a bad thing to do. Try to take over a company, buy shares in them. If the company didn't want to be bought out, at that point they should have just sold out, I think. But they held on to it. They thought maybe Bitfarms was going to do better than what it did, kind of like I was thinking it was going to do better. So they got hurt on that by 55 million right now if they sell their shares. So that's definitely a sizable loss there, which is not good. And then finally here, income loss before income tax was 138 million. All in together, net loss for them was 137 million positive, so it was actually a gain. If you take out the FSB gain, they'd be a negative 153 million. So basic, I calculated about 50 cents per share for the Q4, diluted 43 cents, and that's based on 318 diluted shares and 275 basic shares, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at there. So yeah, the FASB definitely did save their butts a little bit here. Without that, they'd be in much worse shape. But that's why the companies do hodl and things like that in order to gain on the price of Bitcoin going up here. All right, looking back over here, what do we got here? We talked about debt to equity current ratio. We talked about Bitcoin price to or cost to mine also at 40,500 roughly. That's actually not bad. That's actually pretty good there. Price to book ratio is 1.056. Enterprise value is 2.1 billion. EBITDA was 226 million. EV to EBITDA was 9.5. Debt to EBITDA was 3.49. Revenue 142 million for everything. General administrative compensation was 81 million. That's 56.92% of their costs. That's really, really high. For the year, it looks like it's about 70% here. That's, I mean, with them getting to scale, you would think they would do it much better here. But the reason for that is they have 783 full-time employees. They got 2 sites, okay, maybe 3 sites with the one in Kentucky as well. And then they got the 2 other businesses, the ES Metronome and the other one, which I can't think of the name. Was it E4A or something? E4A or A4E? It's called. But man, 783 full-time sites. That's full-time employees. That's a lot for a Bitcoin miner. I don't know. I know you're I'm guessing you're including the people that are also building your data centers out. They're part of your payroll there as well. But eventually that should come down, I would think. As that build out is done, you're going to need less people to do that, potentially, unless you go and build out data centers for, hyperscalers or something like that. Then you're still going to have that. But that's a lot to me. But that's just me on that one. Other thing that I saw on here from the conference call, they only have about 22% hash rate growth left in 2025 on Bitcoin. The HPCI portion that they're working on with consultants and looking for customers and all that stuff, that's still progressing. They don't have anything concrete there. They did mention, somebody asked, I think I think they had it in their slides maybe, but the whole 1.7 gigawatts is basically on the table for an HPCI deal. So what that means right now, they have 700 megawatts at Rockdale, and they have, I think it's 300 or 400 megawatts right now already used up for Bitcoin mining at Corsicana, and they have 600 megawatts available for HPCI deal there. So if you combine all that stuff, they could possibly, I'm guessing if the deal is right, if the pricing is right, whatever it might be, they are open to possibly giving that all to a hyperscaler. The whole 1.7 gigawatts there between the 2 sites, if something comes to that. I'm not saying it will, but you never know. So that was also interesting that they would even consider doing that, right? So definitely interesting to note there. It seems like they're definitely being pushed by the activist investors that have invested in them. They're definitely being pushed in that direction to possibly get as much HPCI business as they possibly can, and maybe they can. But the counterpoint to this is we've had almost, it has been a full year, but we've had almost, it's been probably 8 months, I would say, maybe 8 to 10 months, maybe, something like that, where we've had this talk about HPCI and how much there's demand for it and how much the megawatts are worth, and if you can, and how how the hyperscalers are looking to build out as quickly as possible. Well, we've had 10 months where none of the hyperscalers have done any kind of deals with the big Bitcoin miners that have also HPCI ambitions with large megawatt sites. The only one that's gotten anything concrete here is Core with CoreWeave. And then we've seen smaller deals with TeraWolf and their Core 42 customer there. BitDigital has gotten some deals as well, smaller deals obviously. Other than that, Hive has some deals there. IREN has small things going on as well, along with Hot 8, but it's nowhere near to the hundreds of megawatts deals that we've been talked about, right? I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I'm saying it's been quite a while to do that. And if you believe that the hype is there and the demand is so strong, you would think that something would have materialized by now, at least. but it hasn't. So I'm optimistic but skeptical on that part of things going forward. So the growth that we're going to see here for them this year is not going to be that much. Like I said, about 22% roughly from the 33 that they are at right now to the 38. So let me see what I have here for the miners here going for them. 34, which ones am I not including here? So I probably need to include maybe portion of these here, I would think. I need to probably include these here. So let's add these in here as well. And then that will be at 38.4. Okay, so that actually works out. So they're going to be getting those. And then the number of machines is going to be that. Okay, so that all works out. And then, so what does that give us as far as growth here? They're saying 22%. I'm showing only 13% growth, so I'm not sure where they're getting 22% growth here. Maybe this year they're saying from 31 maybe. So maybe from 31 to 38, that would be a 22% growth. So maybe that's kind of what they're looking at. But from here, I'm seeing more like 12% growth overall. All right, so that's it. Let me know what you guys think of this one and anything else that we covered already today. And we'll get this updated later on when they do provide the 10Q figures for shares outstanding. And we'll see what the market cap is at that point. All right, that is it. All right, let's get into Q&A here. And then, as always, Patreon members, you guys will get this spreadsheet either tonight or tomorrow for sure. I didn't update you guys today. I'm just too busy. But I will get you guys updated either tonight or tomorrow with this one. So you guys will have access to it. And anybody that wants to join the Patreon group there is more than welcome to. $8 a month. And you might be able to find a couple spots that are still $4 and $5. Definitely take advantage of those. The link for that is down in the description as always. All right, let's get into Q&A here. See what you guys have to say. We'll see if we maybe need to start up the Bitcoin miners and investors support group here a little bit. But as always, if you could preface the question with a question mark, I'm going to work my way up on the comments and questions here if I see any, and we'll work our way down. So let's see what we got here. See, Gary says, Riot all-in cost per coin down 214,000 in Q4 from 136 in Q3, still bleeding money compared to Cleanspark at 89,000 IREN at 67,000 per coin, all-in cost. I haven't run the numbers yet, but yeah, it's getting better, but still not great. And that's why they really need to have scale with Bitcoin mining in order to take advantage. Their overhead is just outrageous there. Let's see, Heinze has a question here. Pulse check, is everyone good today? We're good. Hopefully nobody had a heart attack today with Bitcoin going down and miners as well. Miner DJ says, Gary, all these miners are trash. Bitfarms headed to under $1. It could possibly well happen if Bitcoin goes down to 78,000. I could see that happening for sure. All right, what else we got here? All right, more Tim has a question here. This is absolutely all related to Trump. How does Bitcoin and miners overcome time-based capitulation when he literally won't shut up about tariffs? Well, like I said in the beginning of the stream, I think maybe this is a grand plan, right? Talk about tariffs right now, beat the market down, let his friends buy into the market, and then zip it, be quiet, maybe do something or take back the tariffs and be quiet about it for a while, and then things go up. So don't know for a fact if that's going to be the case, but that might be one way it might play out. Let's see. Anon says, at some point, market won't react to tariffs. Possibly, right? If you get slapped on the face a couple of times, you're going to be like, well, okay, this isn't going to change anything. Depending on what the numbers come out also for like unemployment, the CPI, the PCI as well, all those things, numbers, unemployment, I think I already mentioned that, but down the road, right? What is that going to be like in a month or two? Okay. Let's see, Sailor knows this is all FUD. Yeah, I would think so, right? Sailor has connections. He wouldn't be doing this if he thought things were going to be going down. Or probably cut him off guard a little bit too that Trump was talking about tariffs maybe. Let's see, will Mara use FSB rules when they report earnings release? Yes, I believe that they will. They have been using it in the past as well, so I believe they will. Kron says BTC is cooked. I don't think we're cooked yet. I think we're in like a correction phase right now, or accumulation phase, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of where we're at with Bitcoin. We saw that last year in the summer as well. Bitcoin went from 73,000 down to like 40-some thousand. We had a 30% correction. It took a while though. It took a lot longer than we have in the past cycles. So this is kind of what we're in for right now, I think. Okay, let's see. Nikki Lee, good evening, Nikki Lee, to you as well. or Nick Lee, sorry, not Nikki. Let's see, minor DGHI executives, market makers, and influencers all took your money this cycle. I didn't take your money, but I don't consider myself an influencer as well. I just provide you guys with some data and things like that, what I think. But I haven't taken anything out. Well, that's not true either. I did make some money on Core, right? I told you guys way back then when I sold it, was up about 100% on it. I moved it into other things as well, and I have sold at a profit some Bitfarms shares as well to put into IREN and CORZ. So that would be incorrect of me to say that I haven't done that. Okay, let's see. Stefan, can everyone smash the likes for Seb? Geez, appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not a great salesperson, as you guys know. So if you guys would do that, that would be sweet. When was the last green day we had in the miners? The last green day we had in the miners was, gosh, I don't know. Let me see if we can find one here. Last green day looks like last week, and maybe Wednesday for some of these guys here. Let's see here. Thursday for some, Wednesday for others. That I'm looking at right now at least. So, but it wasn't a great green day. Yep. Okay. Trying to find another question, comment. Okay. They probably made a deal with Bitcoin Whale. There's always someone selling Bitcoin. So you're talking about MicroStrategy. How is it that they've been able to buy 20,000 Bitcoin, right, when there's only about 13,000 Bitcoin made or generated, rewarded to the miners during the month? Could be, yeah. I mean, but even the whales, well, I mean, depending on how many Bitcoins the whales has, they could possibly sell it, but that's still a lot. And the supply is shrinking. So I'm just surprised by it. Let's see. Minor Digit says Cleanspark has the worst chart. It broke weekly support today. Okay. Let's see. Praying Cleanspark 860 support holds as long as BTC rises. Well, let's take a look at Cleanspark here. You guys talking about the weekly support on it? Let's take a look. So here's Cleanspark, right? Yeah. Let's see. Broke down here. This was a prior low that we had at 907. It's down to 890 right now. Went down to a low of 865 roughly, and on the weekly, let's take a look at the weekly. All right, so we're talking about possibly here, right? We're broke below that, but we're still, I mean, we were lower in September. We were at a low of, what was that, $8.09. So we might have a little ways to go before we really do break this part of it. Who knows? We'll see. I look at it as a buying opportunity. Only because I still believe that Bitcoin is not done with the cycle yet. I still believe we're going to go higher on it. And the reason I say that is because, like I said before here, we had a correction from here down to here, 30%. We had a correction from here down to here. I think it was 30% roughly at that point as well. Right, went down, yeah, I think it was 30% here. So we've had these 30% corrections before. We've had it in the prior cycles as well. Recently, we've only had roughly down to here was like a 18% correction, 17, 18% correction. So we haven't had that full 30% correction yet on it, right? And that's kind of what I'm expecting. If we do get that, we might get a wick like we had down here, where it just dropped down and went back up, and that was it. But we'll see. There's no guarantees in life and no guarantees in Bitcoin is going to do what we actually think it's going to do. So it always surprises us to the upside or to the downside, unfortunately. All right, let's go back here to the Q&A. There we go. Let's see, Heinze says, is it just me or the mic going on and off? It's sometimes a stream. If you get out of the stream and come back into it, that should fix it. Let's see, what else? Okay, Gary has a question here. Who do you think will have the biggest improvements in EPS in Q1 over Q4 numbers? In EPS, I would think it might be probably either Cleanspark or IREN right now. IREN. I think those two guys, Cleanspark has said that they're supposed to have a positive EPS as well, depending where Bitcoin also goes at this point, but they still should be doing pretty good here. Their hash rate has grown, everything else, hash rate is kind of flat anyways right now, so that's kind of good for the miners as well. Other than that, who else we might have a pretty good one? I think IREN or Riot would also, because they were actually looking to generate more in this current quarter that they did the last one. Marathon potentially as well, maybe. So there's quite a few that might actually do pretty good. Okay. JK says 90 8,928 support on BTC has to hold, then things look better. And if it doesn't hold, where do you think we're going? Do you think we're going down to like 78,000 just to get that wick down correction and be done with it? Let's see. Stefan says BTC looking bearish for the time being. Maybe one last push down to 80,000 before we see an uptrend. Tariff scare is real. Okay, so you're kind of thinking the same thing, that we might come down to like 80,000, 78,000, whatever it might be. That's not the end of the world, right? I'd start freaking out if we go down to like 65,000. I'm like, okay, at that point we're in the bear market. There's, we're down past. I think 30-35% correction is okay. Anything beyond that, we're getting into bear market with Bitcoin at that point. All right, question here. IREN's year-to-date lead over Cleanspark has now almost evaporated, and they have a large open ATM while Cleanspark has none. Which of the two is likely to dilute first, and which is the safer buy? Not an easy question on that one. The IREN is more likely to dilute. They do have, what do they have right now? 400 some odd million. Let's see here. IREN already provided their numbers as well. Let's take a look at their numbers here. What do they have? Let's go back here. Screen, assets, cash and cash equivalents at the end of Q4, which was their Q2. They had 427 million in cash and cash equivalents, right? So they should be okay for the time being. They don't have to pull on that 1 billion ATM just yet, potentially. What do they have as far as liabilities? 144. So you bring down that. So that brings you down about 280 million, roughly. Borrowings, 67, depending on when that's all due. But total current assets, 522. Total current liabilities, 559. The convertible notes is part of that 318, so that's not till later on. So that brings us to 200. Yeah, this should be okay for a while. They still are building out the sites to grow their Bitcoin mining, right, to get to 50, I think 152 exahash, whatever it might be. So they're still going to be pulling on that to do that, plus building out the infrastructure and all that stuff happening there. And then they're also working on a 75 megawatt tier 3 facility, I believe, at their facility there. So they're going to be using it, and I'm sure if they want to, plus they're building out, Clearwater? Is it Clearwater site? Clear something, I want to say. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the two sites. I think it's like Clearwater 1 and Clearwater 2 or something like that. But those two sites, the Clearwater 1, they still want to build that out. They got to get the transformers in there, the substations, all that stuff. So that's going to cost money nonetheless. So they will be pulling on that one. And then as far as which one's a better buy, well, that's the interesting part here, right? Depending on what Bitcoin does. And then, so if Bitcoin does really well, Cleanspark might do very well because of it. But then again, if IREN is able to get like a HPCI customer there for like the 1 gigawatt site that they have there, that could be a catalyst there that puts it up also. So that's why I own both of them. I own IREN and I own Cleanspark because of those two things. Kind of hedging my bets a little bit on the play here. Let's see. Stefan says it's easy to short market with negative sentiment around tariffs and low fear index. Yeah. Okay. Can you give us tips on how to surviving bag holding? Down 30% on miners holding over a year. More pain to come if BTC breaks down. Dollar cost average. That's the only thing that's helped me in the past. It's dollar cost average in if you believe still that Bitcoin's going to go up, right? And that's something that you have to kind of know in your own gut, I guess, know in the back of your head, whatever it might be. If it's going up, if you believe it's going down, it might be time to exit, right? So I can't tell you what to do there. I can only tell you what I've done in the past when things were going down is I bought more. As long as I still believe that Bitcoin's going up, which I do. But I could be wrong on that, but I'm okay with it. I'm still, and the reason that I dollar cost averaging down in the past as well is because now I'm still in the green on these guys, where if I didn't do that, I probably would have been in the red as well. So, all right. Got to respect Jason less for holding a miner long and strong into the red, but he should have bought American. He should have bought Mara. Mara was, bought Mara shares or something like that instead of trying to buy Bitfarms out there. Let's see here. What is your thoughts on Mimbo? I don't even know what that is. Protocol, cryptocurrency, privacy, Epic, Cash. Don't know anything about it. Okay. Let's see. Bitcoin down 4%. ETH down 8%. Ouch. Yep. That's why I think altcoins are done for the most part. Do you feel Cleanspark and Mara should sell their mining sectors as they can't compete with efficient miners on cost per coin? Clearly, Riot activist investors think they should. So wait a minute, what do Riot activist investors have to say about Cleanspark and Mara? Cleanspark's actually profitable. Mara, we'll have to wait to see what they come in at. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're still building out, right? So they're still getting to scale and beyond, which is what we really want. Getting to scale is great. That helps out tremendously, but you need to possibly be on scale at that point. You need to be much bigger as well. Sorry, I meant Riot, not Cleanspark. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's maybe why they're thinking about it. If they can't compete, well, then you might as well use the megawatts for something else, potentially. Do you feel Riot and Mara should sell their mining sectors as they can't compete with efficient miners on cost per coin? Clearly, Riot activists, yeah. I don't think that they should sell their sites. Maybe the activists also think that they should maybe capitalize on those sites. So lease them out to hyperscalers or whatnot. But yeah, if you can't compete on costs and things like that, you got to fix things, right? So one of the things Mara has done here in the past year is they've been buying up a lot of sites. So they're not paying that 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour cost to mine their Bitcoin, which has helped them quite a bit there. Are we still pretending the miners will go up? We're speculating. I don't think we're pretending. I think we're speculating that the miners will go up if Bitcoin goes up. Okay, let's see. Is Bitfarms toast? What about Cleanspark? It seems only IREN and Cypher managed to hold on. So give us 3 miners we should still consider buying even if BTC goes to 78,000. Bitfarms, I don't think it's toast completely, but it's definitely not doing as well as I thought it was going to do, getting to 21 exahash. I've explained this many times before. Then we've had the recent releases from them that they're only getting to 18 exahash later on this year. So I've sold a large position out from them. I sold 2/3 of my position out of them. I sold like 8,000 shares, something like that. But I may sell more depending what more news we get from them. As far as Cleanspark's I think is a great company, along with like IREN. The Cypher as well. Cypher I think has more growth into 2025, second half of 2025 and beyond that as well. But the ones that I can tell you the ones that I'm in, right? Cleanspark and IREN are like the top operators here in the space. After that, who would be? I think Hive is a great operator, but their cost to mine Bitcoin is also pretty high there. I need to see that come down, but I think that will happen as they get to scale. Who else? Trying to think if there's anybody else. I'm still waiting on results for a couple of these guys for quarterly results. We'll get more data from that, and we'll see how their actually cost to mine is. But right now, I would say Cleanspark, IREN, Hive, Mara, potentially Riot was looking better, but they're just not growing it much at all this year. So those are the ones I would kind of look at least. Okay, here we go. Seb, when would I be able to afford 2 square meals a day? When you sell the miners, right? And that's one of those things where sometimes you got to hustle. So as you guys know, I work a full-time job and I do this, so I make a little bit off of this as well, but not much. But it definitely helps. So unfortunately, it's not like the 1950s and 1960s when one person income household could support the whole family. You definitely need multiple income streams to do well well, nowadays, I guess. Okay. Trying to see if there's any questions here. Got a couple comments. Let's see. Amik says, at this point, 2-3x the miners will only break me even. All right. So you got in at a much higher price on the miners there. I mean, if you can, I would say dollar cost average in if you still believe Bitcoin's going to go up. Can't see your question. Sebastian, are you going to sell your Bitfarms shares now? If not, what price are you waiting to go down to? Yeah, so like I said, I still own about 8,000 shares there. My average price on them is $1.30 something. So I'm probably I'm in the red right now with Bitfarms. Bitfarms is at $1.24, so I'm down, what, 8-10%, something like that right now on that. I'm going to hold on to it, see where it goes. If Bitcoin goes to 200,000, 250,000, I think they'll bounce back up and I'll get at least something out of it. If it goes down even more, maybe I'll just sell it, take it as a loss, and move it over to something else at that point. All right, question at BTC peak price of 175,000. What would be the peak dollar price for Mara tentatively? I mean, that's 75% from where we are right now, 80%, whatever it is, from where Bitcoin is right now. Mara should be at the very least, I would think, minimum 160% up from where it's at right now, somewhere around there. So where does that put that? That would put it at, where's Mara right now? Mara is at $14, so closer to like 30 some dollars maybe, right? That's minimum. Okay. What do you call a miner that has grown up? Bankrupt? Grown up. They wouldn't be bankrupt. They got a bunch of cash. They're sitting on a bunch of HODL as well. We've seen, do we see anybody really go bankrupt? Oh, well, we saw CORZ go bankrupt because of their stupid spending and everything else that they did there. But they definitely came out of it, though. Will you start analyzing the AI HPC metrics since most miners are now transitioning to AI? And would that mean you will add BTBT back to the list? I still have Bit Digital on my list for the small miners. And we talk about it whenever they provide some good updates or something like that. So I still cover them in a sense. But they are not in the list with the big miners. But yeah, I'll probably have to figure out a way to look at the AI HPC miners. I mean, right now we really only have CORZ, which CORZ isn't really making anything yet. They're going to be making money later on this year in the second half, early second half, I'm guessing. And then we got Bit Digital that actually has some revenue there. Hive has some revenue. Wolf has some revenue as well. Wolf has got more revenue than Hive and Riot, Hive and Hut 8 as well. IREN's got a little revenue there, but they really don't provide much as far as data is concerned, as far as how many GPUs they have, what's the speed of the GPUs. That's not the same as Bitcoin mining. So we'll take a look at it and see what we can come up with as far as how to track that stuff. Okay. Let's see. Gary has a question here. With Cleanspark losing money on mining, isn't it a certainty that they will dilute or sell Bitcoin in the future, or how do they plan to pay bills? Well, they got the convertible notes. And then they had also money that they used from the ATM. That should be enough for them, I'm guessing, through like maybe 3/4 of the year. After that, they might have to start diluting in order to fund things going forward. But I think right now they're pretty good in cash reserves, I guess you could say. Let's see, Clearwater. Okay. Like all the West, Texas is good for drilling oil, not for HPCI. Clearwater. Okay. What did I say? What the heck did I call it? Call it something else. What else? Okay. Let's see here. Finally, there's a lot of ifs. It seems if BTC goes up, if they get an HPCI, if the cycle repeats, if the price of Bitcoin always goes up. What do you think all of those ifs you use often? I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of ifs. Nothing is ever easy in this space. It's gotten even more harder, I think, this time around with the HPCI stuff floating around, some of the companies moving to that as well. There's just a lot more that's happening here. The companies are also using convertible notes, which they didn't use last time. The last time they used secured debt by Bitcoin, which I'm glad they're not doing it this time. But they just keep evolving and progressing forward, I think. But it does make it a little bit more challenging to really see where the heck they're going. And depending where Bitcoin goes and the ETFs, for Bitcoin, the strategic Bitcoin reserves, all of this stuff is playing into it. The institutions buying it, there's just a lot more into it now than it was before. There's a lot of ifs, unfortunately. We can only talk about what if. What if this happens? What if that happens? That's the only thing we can really do. See, Defcon says, at least Riot has an activist investor, and rightfully so. The Corsicana site is suitable for HPC. IREN wishes they had an activist investor like Riot. Why? Riot was talking about not getting into HPCI until they got an activist investor. But IREN has been talking about doing HPCI with a customer or something like that for a while. So they've been already a little bit ahead of it. They've also been having customers that use HPCI's services that they provide there. They have several hundred, maybe 1,000 or two HPCs operating already as it is. But the revenues are much smaller because it's just a much smaller footprint, much smaller data center basically. Okay, let's see. Sodahead says, Sebastian, a question here. I hold 4,896 Cleanspark shares at 985 average. My lifetime savings. No funds to add. Should I worry? I've been DCing from $15 own of Cleanspark. Okay. Should you worry? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? So there's two ways things could go for us. Either Bitcoin goes down to the correction point where we think it's going to go to like 78,000, which would be a 30% correction. And then it bounces back up off of that, or we bounce where we are right now, which would be great. The other scenario is Bitcoin goes into a bear market, 109,000 was the top, and we were all wrong. So there's the two scenarios that could play out. Based on what you have here, so you got about, what is that, roughly... So you got 5,000 shares of roughly a 10. So that's, you got $50,000, roughly like 45,000, 40,000, whatever it might be in it. That's definitely a lot there, right? Am I doing the math right on that? Jeez, it's late in my, let's take a look at it here. So that's nothing to sneeze about, right? That's a substantial amount, 896 times 9.85, 9.85, yeah, $48,000. So that's a substantial amount. Right, so you have to look to where do you think Bitcoin's going to go. If you think Bitcoin's reached the top, right, you maybe get out. If you still believe that Bitcoin has more to go, hold on to it and just kind of look at it that way. And then also, yeah, I mean, that's definitely tough. That's going to be on you, my friend, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way I would look at it, at least. Right? Do I need that cash? Would I need that cash for anything anytime soon? Do you have any other cash on the sidelines someplace just as a emergency fund, right? So you got to look at all those things. But yeah, that's going to be up to you, my friend, unfortunately. Okay, Jon Snow says, seems like Bitcoin can't get past 100,000. Huge market manipulation at play. The whales need to exit liquidity from retail, and that's why they've been doing without completely crashing the market. Okay, I think it is manipulation. Let's see. When BTC finally gets to bear market, would you switch to gold ETF instead? Now, I mean, gold's been actually doing pretty good so far in the past year or so, right? It hasn't done as well as Bitcoin still, but it's been doing pretty good. Let's see. David asks, is the cycle over? I don't believe so. Time will only tell on that one, unfortunately. Okay. Par says, expectations were high because cost to mine was given without depreciation, so everyone figured miners are super profitable above 30,000. More like 100,000 break even. We need 200,000 BTC hodl. Some of these guys, yeah. Some of these guys are lower. I mean, depreciation... it's not a cash-based expense, right? I like to look at cash expenses. What is your cash run rate, basically? What does it cost for you on a cash basis? Depreciation is more or less a tax reason for it when you look at things that way. And then so is a lot of the share-based compensation as well. That's, yeah, you're diluting shares, but it's not really a cash expense. What are the cash expenses? Electricity, overhead for SG&A, everything else that goes into it, legal, whatever, whatnot. Those are all cash expenses. Can you actually fund your business and operate your business at a profit at that point? If you can, then you're doing okay, right? If not, then you're in trouble, I think, or at least need to fix something. But the other things that are depreciation, that's for tax reasons. Same thing with, yes, you bought those machines that you diluted, so those are kind of paid for already. That's kind of the way I look at it. And then if you couldn't use share-based compensation, you would just take that out, right? You wouldn't give it, but you can because you get more shares and things like that, so you do that anyway. So that's why I don't really include those in things when looking at the operations for cash reasons. But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong on it. Let's see here. Jason less feels your pain, Sebastian. Question, if you 100% knew that BTC was going to 78,000 and that would then move to 150,000 before the end of June 2025. What trades would you make to maximize your profits? Well, if I knew for 100% certain, I'd probably sell right now Bitcoin, the miners, and then get back in at 78,000, but I just don't know, right? That's one of the things that we're thinking could happen. Will it happen? We don't know, and that's the hard part of it, is trying to time it. And I'll be the first to admit I'm terrible at timing, especially when it comes to trying to time the tops and things like that. I do much better when I dollar cost average in, and I'm hoping I do a lot better when I dollar cost average out. Okay, let's see. Results coming for CORZ Scientific February 26th. I don't know when they're coming out. We talked about it yesterday. From Bitcoin Bella provided that information, but I don't know if Core was on there or not. I can't remember now. All right. Any thoughts on potential buybacks? God forbid these miners do reverse splits instead of buybacks. Everyone will get cleaned. Buybacks, I think we need an extended cycle in Bitcoin in order to have buybacks. If we go into an extended cycle with Bitcoin, like into 2026, 2027, and the price of Bitcoin goes up, percentage-wise at least, faster or higher than the network hash rate goes up percentage-wise, then the miners will do very, very well, and at that point they can maybe do some buybacks. But until that happens, I do not see buybacks happening unless they do, again, convertible notes where they use portion of that to buy back. Let's see here. Seb, why would you sell Bitfarms for a loss? Might as well hold and sell when it's at least double its current price. Well, that's kind of why I'm holding on to, but I want to see what they're going to be reporting for February numbers and then maybe March. We'll see what they're doing, see what kind of things happen for them. You know, the amount that I have in them now is 8,000 shares roughly or so. So that's $1.35. What is that? Maybe $9,000, $10,000 in them right now. I can hold on to that for a while and see where they go. I'm just saying it's one of those things that I have an option. I can, if I want, I can sell. If I'm not happy with it and be done with it and move it to something else. All right. Question, is Bitfarms seriously pursuing AI HPC, and do you think they will come up with a deal in the second half of 2025? They are seriously pursuing that, or at least they're going to be pursuing that later on in 2025 into 2026. They're buying Stronghold here this quarter. That'll give them some optionality, possibly do something there as well. So they're working on it, but they don't have any, they don't have any real experience with it right now. They need to do a test site, a pilot site to learn on. And I think that's going to take a while for them to do that. Okay. Let's see. Mara is investing in AI for the miners to run more efficient. Yeah, I think, I thought I heard someplace that Bitmain was doing the same thing, some AI chips for the ASICs there. Okay, let's see. David says people should take responsibility for their financial decisions instead of blaming Seb. Yeah, that's why I say it's not financial advice for whenever, right at the start of the show, pretty much not financial advice. I always say that. But people just come here to, I don't feel like they're blaming me. I think they're just trying to see how would I react possibly to it. And that's why I say it's always going to be on you to decide what you want to do. I can tell you what I would possibly do, but every situation is different. Everybody has different incomes, different costs that they need to pay for and things like that. It's always going to be, one-on-one, basically. Everybody's different. Okay, let's see here. As Hive will grow 5x by September, it's not going to be 5, it's going to be like 4x. They're at 6 exahash, they're getting 25 exahash, so more like 4x. Price should adjust accordingly. Why people are not seeing this? I think the reason is there's still a cost to mine Bitcoin is pretty high right now. It's around 70,000 right now, just for the cost of, I think, electricity that's in there. So that's pretty high. Need to have that come down, and I think it will when they will actually get to a higher scale with Bitcoin mining, right? As they get to maybe 12, 15 exahash, that should improve their margins there, I would think, but we'll see. Okay. Hey Seb, you sold your 8,000 shares Bitfarms at $1.39 and told everyone to buy Cleanspark and IREN, and now both IREN and Cleanspark are lower percentage than Bitfarms. Hold and don't change stocks anymore. Good luck. Yeah, I sold, I think was it $1.39? I had to look back when I actually sold it, but I thought it was a little higher than that because I was still in a little bit of profit on that one. But yeah, I sold and bought into Cleanspark and IREN, but I didn't tell people to buy it. I just said this is what I was doing and the reasons why I thought then the reasons behind why I was doing it as well. Okay. All right. Let's see. With Cleanspark losing money on mining, but doesn't Cleanspark mine Bitcoin at like 35,000 per coin? Wouldn't that still be profitable? They mine around 600 Bitcoin per month. That's why I'm saying cash costs. If you look at cash costs, things are different. If you include share-based compensation and depreciation, then things look definitely different. But those are not cash costs, right? At cash costs, can they mine it profitably? And they can. Okay. It seems the main reason why miners are not performing and being shorted to the max is because miners dilute too much. Can there be a future where miners don't use the ATM? There could be. And that could be where it's an extended cycle for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes into an extended cycle, the miners might be able to, but then they would have to sell actually like Bitcoin, right? So last cycle, Cleanspark did a pretty good job selling into the bull run and down into the bear market as well. Bitcoin do that too. Fund operations and fund growth and things like that. They did that. This time around, they're still hodling a lot longer than I thought they were going to do, and we'll see if they actually sell anything this time around. But you could do that, and then you should be okay, as long as you reach a certain scale where you are actually, cash flow positive. So it is possible, but it's just Bitcoin has to be going up for a longer period of time instead of having these bear markets. Okay. See, Gary says Cleanspark all-in costs were 89,000. Revenue was 83,000 per coin in Q4. They made 260 million in FSB, lost 19 million in mining. Market tends to ignore FSB as they already factor HODL in share price. With the 89,000, does that include? Are you including? What are you including in that? I think you're including the stock-based compensation and depreciation in there. I think. Okay. All right, Bevney says, I don't believe Bitcoin has stopped. At least one final leg up remaining, in my opinion, at least 120, 130 in the books before it's all said and done. All right. I think that's low, but I mean, you might be right and I might be wrong on that. Okay. GNC here says, it actually might be time to buy Bitfarms. You hold Bitcoin, but you trade Bitfarms. What do you think? I mean, it might be, right? I still own shares, like I said, so I'm still holding on to that one. I mean, if you believe the turnaround story there, that they're going to turn things around this year, even if they can get to at least 18 exahash by the end of the year or by the end of the first half, that would be pretty good there. And then we'll see what they do later on. So it still might be a turnaround story for them. Okay, we got... Okay. Let's see here. Benny asks, what do you think? When is the top? When we moon? I think originally, like I said before, I think the top was going to be around 180,000 this cycle. And that was before all the other stuff that happened with ETFs being approved, all the talk about the strategic Bitcoin reserve and countries buying it, states buying it, all this other stuff. With that, I thought maybe we could go up higher to like 200,000, 250,000, maybe somewhere around there. And I was thinking maybe by the end of this year, like end of Q3, beginning of Q4, somewhere around there, that we could possibly get to that. Right now, I mean, we're still only in the second end, well, almost to the end of the second month. So we still have a ways to go. We'll see where we end up at here in February and where we go in March. Seen some people posting on X that, with Bitcoin being down here in this month, we could see a very good month in March, potentially, being up, 35, 50% on Bitcoin, depending where it goes. Let's see. Let's see. You have to take into consideration dilution, stock manipulation, etc. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, for sure. But with everything being equal, I also think that like the big guys that are in the space right now, more so than ever, I think they're going to want to run this thing up as much as they can, make as much money as possible. But I know they like to do it on both ways, on the upside and the downside as well. So it might be choppy for a while here, but we shall see. All right, I think I've caught up to all you guys' questions here, looks like right now, the comments as well. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow we got somebody else reporting, I believe. Who's reporting tomorrow? I can't remember now. But somebody's reporting quarterly results tomorrow or fiscal year-end results we'll cover that as well. We'll see what Bitcoin does. I mean, Bitcoin's right now up a little bit, 0.75% or so. We'll see where it ends up tomorrow. We'll see what the miners do, and we'll cover everything else. All right. The only thing I can say is patience right now. At least for me, it's patience, just trying to hold through this time frame. This is kind of what I see as, at least as accumulation, correction, maybe a little bit as well. Time frame. We saw this back in the beginning, or not the beginning, but the middle of the year last year, right, where we went from 73,000 under like 40-some thousand. We had that correction. That's going to happen from time to time. And this time around, it seems like they're longer corrections, at least, or accumulation phases than we've had in previous cycles with Bitcoin going up parabolic. So maybe something that's new going to be happening here for us going forward. All right, but that's it. Love you all. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. We'll get back into it tomorrow. I'll see you guys then.